Welcome everyone to the fourth episode of Go with a Bee podcast. Today we have Dex's marketing in the house, and we're going to have a fun session with him and ask him around how his journey has been from a past life before marketing and now that he is independent marketer himself. So let's get to know more about him. Welcome, Dex. How are you doing today?
Hey, Abby, thanks for having me here. I'm great. I'm really excited to share some of the learning lessons I've had over the past decade, help share a little bit more about my background and how I got to achieve some of the basic success levels that I've hit. And just really excited to help people maybe unlock whatever they need to unlock to make the moves to get to the next tier in their life. So happy to start talking about all that stuff and get the ball rolling here.
Great. Let's start with your introduction. Can you give me a brief overview of your background, highlighting the aspects that led you to digital marketing as a career?
Sure. I think for me, when I was a young kid, I grew up in the Midwest of USA. I was always interested in technology and gadgets and just tinkering around with stuff. So when I was into all that stuff, I logically moved into technology as I went to college and got my higher education. So I initially went to school for computer science, but I was too busy partying and having fun and living the college life. So I didn't take computer science as seriously as I should have, and I actually switched majors over to IT management. And from there, I was able to learn a lot of, I would say most of it is just fundamental stuff and learning about how like databases work and how websites work and how to do some of just the architecture of the technical background of things. So I started there and it was fun, but I also always had projects on the side. I was always trying to help a client or set up a blog, or maybe it was even just learn how to rank a blog post on Google. Right. And so I was always tinkering, I was playing around with stuff. And there were a couple loopholes that I was able to find and had some pretty successful wins and some quick wins, but they toppled pretty quickly. So there it was back to square one. I eventually graduated and I went to corporate world. I got a big boy job to pay all the college debt. And it was great for a while. I learned a bunch of stuff. But at some point, I just felt like I was hitting stagnation. I felt like I wasn't growing as much as I wanted to. Felt like I was being limited, kind of hitting a glass ceiling in a lot of ways, whether it's financial or just growth potential. So I decided that I really wanted to jump off this corporate game and just start living life intentionally and start doing the things that I wanted to do. And so for me, that was quitting the corporate game, starting my freelance journey, learning how to help clients and really just serve them and move them from where they are now to at least closer to where they want to go or hopefully to where they want to go. So that's where my journey has taken me. And that's where I am today.
Quite a journey.
What a journey.
So looking at all that, I'm sure you have had amazing experiences. So I wanted to ask, how many years have you been working in digital marketing, and what are some of the key milestones in your career so far?
Sure, that's a great question. Well, I've been in this for about a decade now in various capacities, trying to start this small business idea or trying to help this client or just learn how to do the SEO stuff. I've been really going at it for about a decade now. And for me, I think the first step was like, dude, I made my first dollar online. That is sick. If I can do $1, maybe I can do 10, maybe I can do 25, maybe I can do 100. And I started really on the affiliate side of things. But as I've progressed in my career and as I've gotten to taking it more seriously, I've really leaned more into the client services side of things where I can help people. And so for me, it was like the first milestone was like, can I make my first dollar online? Sweet, I did that. And then like now, more realistically, I really focus on the client side of things. So like for you, I would say like maybe it's getting your first client and then getting your first couple of clients, right? And you start building some conviction in how you operate and your skills. You start believing in yourself more. And, from there, you eventually start making enough money that you pay your bills. And you're like, this is pretty cool. But you get to a point where eventually you're making enough money that you have freedom to choose how you want to live your life. And I think that for me is the ultimate goal. It's being able to decide how I work, when I work, where I work, and who I work with, right? And being able to decide if I want to work from the USA or maybe I want to go travel for 6 months and work remote on my laptop. Or maybe I want to go get a van, right? And live off the natural land here and to still work from my laptop. I could do all those things now where I couldn't do that if I would have stayed on that corporate path. So I look at all that, I look at the income potential, and I just, for me, that's where I started thinking about those are the milestones. And I think that those are the steps that I've taken.
Wow, amazing.
Thank
So
you.
you also answered over here what were the primary factors that influenced your decision to pursue a career in digital marketing, like you just mentioned about freedom and remote capability, right? So
Absolutely. I mean,
would you like to tell more about freedom and remote capability in your own words? Like why that? Why is it so important for you that you risk so much and get out of corporate life for it?
yeah, I think for me, kind of feel like I've been sold a lie in a lot of ways. Like I didn't like the fact that I was limited by my boss's potential. I didn't like the fact that they set the ceiling for me. They decided how much I made. And no matter how hard I worked on myself or worked on the skills or whatever, I felt like I was just stuck in a box. And feel like a lot of people are starting to feel that way where it's like they're just doing what they're told to do and then they end up at a spot where they're just disadvantaged. They're being leveraged by other people for their own benefits. And for me, like I wanted to get out of that. I wanted to be able to say, I'm living intentionally where I'm living. I'm working intentionally what I'm working on. And I if I'm gonna do something, I want to do it with 100%. I don't want to do something with 20% focus or 20% effort. Like I'm gonna do it or I'm not. And I saw those limitations and I just didn't want to run into those anymore. And so for me, it was if I can figure out ways to get my own clients and make my own money and pay my own bills, then I don't have to worry about a boss that kind of decides where my fate is or where my fate goes. Right. I get to decide when I wake up, how I work, when I work, that kind of stuff. But the most interesting thing out of all of this is I find myself waking up earlier now, working longer now than I ever would have in the corporate world because I'm passionate about this stuff. I'm so excited to help my clients and to learn and to grow. And again, it goes back to the idea of serving your clients and helping them achieve the levels of success that they want to achieve. And so you get to be that unlock in life. And it's such a beautiful thing. And once you start feeling confident in your abilities and you go to the world and say, hey, I can help you go from X to Y, it becomes such a beautiful thing. And I don't see many industries that are like that. And that's really what made me think through digital marketing was right for me, or at least taking that leap of faith and seeing, okay, well, even if this doesn't work out, at least I'll learn something, at least I'll grow, at least I'll become a better human. So that's why I did what I did and the thinking behind it.
Yeah, I can totally relate to it. When I was in my sales job with a big brand in India, my life was like morning 1 hour in the office, rest of the day outside on the field doing sales, and coming back to office in the evening for 1 hour and closing the day. And at some point of time, I was like, why the hell am I doing this? Because even my boss doesn't seem like dedicated enough to this thing. And why am I wasting my precious hours and days and weeks for certain company where my seniors and all of those people are not really serious about what they are doing? So there comes a point when you stop learning new things and you have already learned whatever your job has to offer for you to learn. And then you feel like, why can I not use this or utilize this in my own business? Like you just mentioned, I'm
Mhm.
waking up earlier now and I'm waking up doing more work than I would have ever done in corporate. That's what you said. And I feel
Yep.
like it's been the same for me. I have been working longer hours. Like right now, it is late night here in India, and we are recording this podcast. It shows the kind of dedication you have when you want to achieve the freedom in your life. And that's what happens when you move out of corporate. Because when we are in corporate, the feeling that we have is, boy, oh boy, when will it be 5 o'clock? And when am I going to reach home? And I just don't want to
Totally.
do anything about my work when I get home. And that's not the feeling now. And even in daytime, when you feel like you want to have lunch with your friends or your family, now you can choose to do that. And that's one of the
Right.
biggest reasons why you want to be doing your own work. And especially in this industry, where not only you are happy, also the people that you are serving, your clients, they are also happy because you are offering something important for their business's survival and also growth, not only survival. And that's what fulfilling
Absolutely.
for us in this area. Thank you for sharing that, Dex. Now, to what extent have you combined your formal education with self taught methods in honing your marketing skills, your digital marketing skills?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, maybe 10, 15, 20% of my college education stuck with me. And the rest has pretty much been self taught and just obsessing about learning the skills that I want to learn. And even 10 years ago, there were forums, but it wasn't as prominent with courses that you see now. Like it was just more of the Wild West. And so I would have to study people on forums and I would like, they would have journey threads and they would talk about how I'm starting here, but I'm going to achieve X and I'm going to post every day about it. And through reading those posts and people would ask questions and seeing those answers to those questions, it really helped me understand a lot of the fundamental things. And then I would have to go and do those things to validate that they work. So for me, a lot of it has been mostly studying other people, maybe courses. There's YouTube videos, do a lot of YouTube studying. But going back to your question, it's the only real things that really stuck with me throughout like the college stuff was databases and understanding like relational databases and making sure the schema is correct and getting the data into something called third normal form so that there's no duplicate data in the databases, just small technical things like that. And then I guess there were some coding classes, and I do use code now for WordPress sites for my clients, or if I got to edit something or build a landing page from scratch, because I have that technical background, I can code now. So there's that. But overall, most of it is just me self learning and just getting serious about these are the skills I need to learn to go to where I want to go in life.
I've seen this in our previous interactions in the last 2 years of time that we have known each other, that
Hmm.
you have been using at some extent of coding in achieving the results that other web designers like me want to achieve with no code tools. And somehow those tend to be a lot better when you use code over there.
Hmm.
And that is magical. To be able to do that and to be able to make money out of it is something magical, I believe, for anyone. Can you share some more experiences or methods that have been really significant for you and contributed to your growth in digital marketing?
Sure. There are a couple that really stand out to me. The first one is invest in a course or a mentor. I think a lot of people that don't spend money don't take it seriously. And so if you want to take the stuff seriously, then I would suggest that you take some money out of your wallet and pay someone, because that way you're more invested into it. But there are other ways. If you don't have money, you can obviously go to YouTube, just do a Google search and then, or a YouTube search, and then watch every video, learn what other people are doing, learn the different strategies. And YouTube has been a big one for me historically, but then also too, more recently, it's investing in a community, investing in a mentor, and like leaning into someone who has done this stuff already and can shine more light for you is really awesome. Because if you don't have that mentor, you don't know what you don't know then. And so then you have to go, and when you hit a new wall, you have to figure out how to go around that. And that could take you a long time. Or if you had a mentor, you could just dig underneath it or something. So for me, it's really about getting deeper into investing more of your assets into a mentor or a course or a community, something to that effect. But then it's also too like really getting serious about self development. What I mean by that is, are you working on yourself harder than you are like your job? And for me, I try to do that as much as I can. And that starts with reading a chapter a day. Like you having the ability to read but not read puts you in the same bucket as someone who doesn't know how to read. And it goes back to the idea of the knowledge that you had that you have up until this point today got you to this point in your life. But if you want to achieve higher levels and you want to achieve new things, it's logical thinking then that you would have to learn new things and learn how to play the game to get to those levels that you want to get to. And so it all starts with self development and focusing on yourself, becoming smarter and just becoming more knowledgeable and experienced with these things. And the last thing I would say is I've used this analogy quite frequently, but it's the idea of getting on the damn bike. And to explain this, it's the idea of, when you first learn about bikes, right? You first learn to ride your bike. How do you learn? You could go to the library and get 15 books on how to ride this bike, or you can just get on the bike and learn how to do it, right? There's two approaches here, but the one that you go in and you do it, you figure it out, right? That's when you're going to learn the most. That's when you're going to gain the most experience, and that's going to move you far closer to your goal than just sitting there reading those books on how to ride a bike, because you're just learning about the theory and how it all works, but you're not actually doing it yourself. And the same thing can be applied to digital marketing and honestly a lot of other things in life. So I would say like you need to get on the damn bike and you got to stop just watching YouTube videos and stop writing on notebooks and just hoping that eventually like it'll stick with you. You got to take action. And I think that's where a lot of people that's hard for them. It's not natural to jump in and take on fear. So I think it's really all those combination of things. It's investing in yourself with a course or a mentor or a community. It's about reading and focusing on self-development. And it's really about getting on that damn bike and just doing the thing. Because if you just keep avoiding it, it's going to be 2 years down the road before you even start it. You don't want to do that. I've done that plenty of times. I know other people have done it. Abby, maybe you've done it yourself, right? So it's just getting away from that and just go after what you want to achieve in life. And if you take the action, you get on the damn bike, you'll get there far quicker than by avoiding it for 6 months. Trust me. So those are the strategies I've used to get me closer to my goals and aspirations.
That was a beautiful analogy of using the bike as an example,
Thank you.
because digital marketing is as practical as riding a bike. So that was perfect example to explain it that way. And from what I understand, in the initial days, when we talk about buying courses, you said it right. If you don't have money, there's still no one that can stop you from learning. If I talk about specifically digital marketing as a skill set, there are a lot of things in it, and there's nothing that you cannot learn online with free resources that you can learn from a course. The
Yep.
reason that people buy a course is because they want to learn something in a very structured way in shorter span of time with the experience that someone else, the course creator, has already have. You cannot afford a mentor, you cannot pay like $5,000 a month to a mentor. Great, buy a course, because with most of the courses you'll get a community along with it, and you will not be alone researching online, learning from free resources. You will have other people who will be like-minded and who will also be in similar situations like you can find the one that you gel up with, and you can start your journey with them, and that is way more powerful. And how did I learn that? Because when I started gym for the first time in my life, I was with one of my best friends, and we used to push each other to get up in the morning 5 o'clock and go to the gym and hit more and more sets. When you have someone like-minded, someone who is in the same spot as you are in the life, on the same page, I am definitely guaranteeing this thing that you are going to achieve the results much faster. And the trust that you have in yourself and other people also trust you is going to be on a different level than what you're doing alone, because you tend to waste a lot of time when you're doing it alone. I hope you agree with that, right? So there's nothing
Absolutely.
wrong with doing it for free. There's nothing wrong with when it comes to doing it alone. But if you are, even if a little bit privileged to be able to afford a course, or if you are having a small job and you can still save some money from the job and pay for the course like I did when I was in Africa, you can still create a hell lot of series of changes in your life. And when you look back 12 months down the line, you will be like, wow, that one event or one decision has changed so many small events in my life. And where I'm standing today is because of that one small decision or the leap of faith that I took in the past. I believe that is really important. It was a long answer from me. Sorry about that. But I believe that this was important for me to share when you just mentioned the example of bike. Anyway, so coming back to you, when it comes to client work, could you describe some of your clients that you have worked with and the projects that stand out in terms of innovation and success?
Sure. Over the past decade, I've always been open to new opportunities. I've always been open to working with new clients and new industries and different problems. My thing is, if I can do the most repetitions, if I can do have the most experience, I'm going to win in the long run. So for me, it's always being open to new opportunities and learning. And so over the past decade, I've worked with startups, solopreneurs, agencies, and mid-level companies. And I've also had experience in the corporate game as a marketer, and I was a manager there too. And so my thing is, I just want to get really well rounded, and so through all that, I think I've picked up a couple things that really stand out in terms of like success and innovation. And I think it's the people, it's the owners that really are technology forward and see the benefits of using technology in their own lives. And so that could mean that they lean into the technology side of things so that they don't spend more time on the manual processes. Or it's like leveraging the automations of a funnel, for example. So it's like having more structure. And it's leaning into modern technology and modern digital marketing strategies. Those are the people that I find that are more open to these newer concepts, these new ideas, testing new ideas. And that's the age we're at, anyways, where it's like we have to test things and we have to see if it works for you. There's no real simple Lego solution where I just, boop, it works for you. It's going to work for everyone. So you got to spend time to understand your clients and understand how they operate and what their needs are. And through working with all these different various industries and people and good clients and bad clients, I've been able to find like just understanding through all of this. And I think it goes back to the idea of focusing on the technology and learning how it benefits you and not becoming a person who preaches riding horses or buggies, right? After the invention of the car. It's the idea of people who see this invention as an opportunity. It's a tool to work more efficiently, to do better work. And it's not something to be afraid of. And mostly I'm speaking to AI and just some of the automations that we're seeing now. So yeah, those are some of the biggest points that stand out to me.
Amazing. One thing that I could take out from that was the automation and the funnels. And it was a great input when it comes to some of the innovation in the process, because not many people think of it as innovation right now, but it makes a
Hmm.
huge difference for small and mid companies to have a funnel, because most of them don't even have a simple website. And to have a funnel is like having, I'm talking about sales funnel in this example particularly. So to have a funnel, it's like having a salesperson working for you for 24/7 with the same energy and effort without draining in terms of efforts that they have, and any number of customers that are coming to interact with it. So the funnel is an automated way of guiding a customer from point A to point B through the sales. I believe that these are some small things that make huge impacts when it comes to processes for these companies. And as marketers, when we are able to do something like this, that is innovation and success for us, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one thing on funnels that I think is really important to touch on here is the difference between a funnel and just a normal website. I think the best way to describe it is like a normal website, typical, you just grab a WordPress and you set up a site. I think those are more considered brochures, right? And so when you look at it, it's like people, they just click around, they find what they need and they're out of there. And the biggest barometer that I like to watch on this is time on page. If you have your own website, you got your own whatever, I highly encourage that you look at the time on page, and that's such a clear indicator if people are spending time there, if they get what you're writing. And without a funnel, a lot of people just bounce off. But with a funnel, you can structure it in such a way that you'll get longer attention. You'll see too, if you look at the average time on page, you'll see if it's working or not. You'll see if people get what you have. And so it's breaking down this whole idea of going from zero to customer and recognizing that, well, there's not just one step. You don't just buy now, like with technology and all this stuff that the technology is pushing forward, people are now doing self-discovery. They're doing self-understanding before they're reaching out to you. Right. So if you don't have a blog, if you don't have things out there that people are needing to search for before they're ready to pay you, like they're going to find your competitors because your competitors probably have that content out there. And that's why it's so important to have a funnel and think through this strategically. Because if you can think through this, better than your competitors, you're going to win. So the idea, just going back to the simple terms, a funnel is a structured way of getting someone from zero to customer. And it goes through all the sophisticated points that a customer has to go through or a prospect has to go through to become a customer. And without having a funnel, you just end up having a brochure website and it doesn't lead people to the next logical step. And from that, you're going to get less sales and you're going to generate less revenue overall. So the idea, to summarize, is a funnel helps move the customer from zero to customer or prospect to customer in the right logical steps and stops having the customer guess which steps they need to take. Would you agree with that, Abhi, or am I off a bit there?
Exactly. I agree with that because when you get into a structured restaurant, for example, when you get into McDonald's, you know exactly what your next step is because they have designed that place like that. When you get into Walmart, they have designed a place in such a way that your eyes will go to each and every section of the products over there. They design that funnel like that. And I'm
Hmm.
giving example of physical world because some of people might or might not be able to relate with the funnel exactly. So when you go to such places like Walmart and Domino's and McDonald's, they know exactly what the customer should do next. The customer goes in, even if the customer is going in there for the first time, they look at what others are doing over there, and they go to the counter and they see on the screen, wow, these are the options, and they look delicious. Okay, I want to order this, and now they have even automated that process of ordering through touch screens in most of the outlets, right? So that
Yep.
is an example of a real life funnel that we apply in our industry for these businesses online. And when you, as a business, are telling the customers what to do, the customers will look at you as a legitimate business, as a great business. They will look at you seriously compared to any other business who just have a brochure that feels insulting to a customer, in my opinion, that you're not serious about me. If you're not serious about me, I'm not going to buy from you. So
Right.
anyone who is a serious business, I would love to buy from them. That's why funnel
Hmm.
is important, not only for your business, but also for your customers.
Absolutely. 100%.
Amazing. Talking about all these things, there's one thing that really sticks with me when I'm talking to anyone because I have a similar question to myself a lot of times. I wanted to ask you, what are the most challenging aspects of this career for you? Is there anything that you feel is a con in digital marketing?
It's not easy, right? It takes work. The ads you're seeing that sell you on the idea that you can become a multi-billionaire in 14 seconds by buying their course. It's in my experience over the past decade, that's not really realistic. And so I think you have to be serious and you have to be dedicated to serving your clients and helping them achieve their goals. And you have to have conviction in your processes and your tools and how you approach these things. And that doesn't come overnight. So there's that. But the one thing that sticks out to me too, that it took me a while to understand this, I looked at digital marketing like it was a math equation. And what I mean by that is when you do math, you have one right answer and all wrong answers, right? But digital marketing isn't necessarily that way, right? When you hire a consultant who looks at your strategy and looks at whatever, maybe two consultants would have different varying opinions, and perhaps neither of them are wrong, right? You look at how a consultant would arrive at a destination, and it's their experiences, it's who they worked with previously, it's how confident they feel in their processes and skills. And so, what I'm trying to say through all this is perhaps there could be two right answers, there could be three right answers. There's different ways to approach this game. And I think for me, I've always approached it as there's one right way to do this. And that's not necessarily true. I think in some instances, yes, there's a right way and a wrong way, but there's so many different ways to skin a cat, as the saying goes. There, like, I think you have to be clear on what you're doing and you have to have confidence that your process works. So there's that. And then, like I said before, everything is changing. Think of AI, think about like where we were 5 years ago and the state of the internet 5 years ago. Things are going to change and things are going to continue to change. That's the one variable that we should expect. And so I think like we have to always stay up to date with the greatest and latest tools, and we have to know what's working, what's not. And we don't have to be full on like, knowing everything, but we should be able to answer our clients' questions and we should be able to serve them the best way possible. So for me, it's those two combination of things. It's being okay with my answer for your situation might vary from someone else's, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that my delivery to you is wrong. It just means that I have a different perspective than someone else per se. And it could be wrong, but generally speaking, there's different approaches here. There's not just one right answer. And the second thing is just staying up with the times and just really putting in the work to keep up with the times and the tools and the processes.
Thank you for being honest with this answer, Dex, because when I speak with a lot of new students or even other professional aspirants, they are like, wow, digital marketing, oh, I can change my life. Yes, you can, but not the way that you have been watching in the ads, like you just mentioned, Dex. They don't
Yep.
have realistic expectations. And to know both pros and cons is really important because right now, as freelancers in this industry, we know what pros we are gaining, but we have to pay a certain cost. And that cost is not being advertised in these ads on YouTube and Facebook. And you have to realize that there is certain cost that you have to pay. And once you are okay to pay that cost, only then you will be able to give 100% and put that effort in to get the result that you dream of watching those ads. That's my take on the difficulties in this career.
One more thing I wanted to sorry, one more thing I wanted to quickly say here was I think it's also too one more thing is understanding the importance of the cost of entry to doing something new, right? Like if I'm doing something new, let's say I'm getting into photography and learning how to use the camera, right? Like I might screw it up. I might take some really crappy photos, but the cost to doing something new is to look silly or to make a dumb mistake. And don't let that dumb little silly mistake or that perception of you going to make a dumb silly mistake and look like an idiot prevent you from going after the things you want to achieve in life. And it starts with being okay with looking silly at the beginning. So you will make mistakes, but that's part of the game and that's okay. So you should expect that. No, don't let it hold you back. So I just want to make sure and convey that.
Yeah, that was a good addition in your answer. And don't be afraid to ask questions. We have been taught by our parents since childhood and even in school. Ask questions, ask more, and don't be afraid to make mistakes because only then you will learn. So failure is part of success, is what we have seen people say. And I agree with that because when I have failed in last 2 years, whenever I wanted to deliver something to my clients, and that is when I learned. And failures are one of the most aha moments for me.
Yep.
Aha, this is how it works. And I was not able to do it. Next time, I'm sure that I'll be able to do it. So, to know that trying is not bad and trying is actually good, even your clients know that it's good. It's good to try, it's good to do something new. And they are okay with you failing for them. If a client says that there's no chance that you have to fail, then that is a wrong client that you're working with probably. They have to be realistic because starting their own business was also part of failure. Right, when they started their business, I don't think that they achieved success straight away. There have been some sort of waves in their businesses about of failure and wins. So I believe that definitely give it a shot, like Dex said. Looking back, Dex, are you satisfied with choosing this career path, and what would you have done differently?
I am so happy I made this change and made this choice. It was so difficult, but I'm glad I did it. And it took a lot of effort, took a lot of, I don't know about blood, but we took a lot of sweat and tears perhaps to get to this point. And I wouldn't change it for anything. And I've come a long ways and I've learned a lot of stuff. I've got more mountains to climb too. So I've got a long ways to go. But I think overall, I'm super satisfied with everything. I wouldn't change much, anything. Maybe be more interested in taking more risks. I generally am risk averse, but the more risks you take, the more opportunities you give yourself. And so that'd probably be the only thing I would change is probably be more risky, stand up more offers, stand up more businesses, and just see which one takes up and starts running because you never know. Like for example, I had one when I was first starting out and I was in college or whatever. I had one that for 1 month like bumped up to 60,000 US dollars a month, and I was like, dude, I'm just like reselling Fiverr stuff. Like this is crazy. And I didn't know. I didn't think there would be revenue potential from that, or at least much. But I was just interested and tried it out, and it crumbled after a month anyway, so it's not a big deal. But the idea was like, you don't know what's on the other side of this. Consider just trying it and see what happens because you never know.
Great answer. That is a great answer. I believe I resonate with your answer. I wouldn't change it for anything, even if whatever difficulties I'm facing today as a marketer, I would love to
Hmm.
face that difficulty over and over again if I'm given a choice once again to get into digital marketing 3 years ago in my life. I would do the same thing.
Beautiful.
All right. So, looking at all these experiences, what are your immediate and your long term goals in digital marketing, and how do you plan to achieve them?
Yeah, that's another great question. The two goals that stick out in my mind, I really want to build more digital assets. And I think that's always a good idea is to diversify your income. So if you can figure out ways to stand up digital assets, and when I say a digital asset, that could be a YouTube channel, that could be a website, it could be an Instagram account, right? These are all just digital, they're just digital things that live online. And through them, you can make money. So my goal through that is to generate income through multiple different sources with client work and then these digital assets. The other thing too is I want to 10x my income and start pulling myself out of operations. With the multiple clients that I'm dealing with right now, it's great, but I'm just so ingrained in the day-to-day operations that like I'm not able to make as much progress on moving the company forward. So I have to be more logical about focusing on the things that are going to move the business forward and then hiring or outsourcing, automating some of these processes that I've been doing manually. So those are like really where I'm focusing on to achieve this immediately or to kind of work on this immediately. Well, what I'm looking at doing is just cranking out more offers and just putting more opportunities for myself out there onto the web. Right. We don't know who's gonna accept the offer. We don't know who's gonna go and say, hey, that's a great idea. We don't know. So my idea is to get more confident with building offers, building landing pages, building out the whole systems on that kind of stuff. I also want to focus more on sales, like I just alluded to, and then obviously refine my processes and try to automate them and get me out of those operations. When it comes to the future, though, I think I just want to keep prioritizing self development and I want to keep doing the hard and difficult work. Like I see myself just grinding hard for the next couple of years, and I see myself really putting in the work to achieve the levels of success that I want to achieve. And to summarize, like you can't achieve those levels of success until you go through the hard work. You do the work that you need to do. You can't achieve the levels of success and skip the work. You need to do the work. So I've accepted that I need to do work and I need to grind really hard for the next couple of years to achieve my goals. And so I'm willing to do that.
Yes, acceptance is the first step of taking action, and second step is taking action. And you just mentioned something about building systems in the future for yourself. What new technologies or tools do you believe are shaping the future of digital marketing, and how do you plan to incorporate them into your practice when you talk about building systems?
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on what the offer is, right? If I'm focused on SEO, and by the way, I plan on doing a lot of different offers across different channels, for example, but for SEO, like I think one that comes to mind is we got to rethink the way we're approaching SEO and we're doing research and all this stuff. Like for example, historically, if I was trying to understand like the intent of a keyword or I was trying to study what's ranking, I would go to Google, I'd type it in, and I would study the results. I would see what's ranking. I would see how many words were used. I would see like the outline of the content. And I would use that to drive some of the strategy because I think that's super important. You got to understand the intent behind the query, what's currently ranking to understand like what you should have as a goalpost. So I've done that historically manually and it's pretty time consuming. But there are new technologies out there that kind of automate some of this stuff. Now there's tools out there that can do that automatically. Phrase.io is one that I really like and I think is really something that I'll incorporate soon into my systems. Like solutions like that are going to be what takes over, some of these industries. And I think the reality is like you can't use these tools to their full potential until you understand how the game is played. And so if you don't know how the game is played and you just jump into these tools, yeah, you can execute and do these things and get an output, but you're not going to get the best output possible because you don't understand the strategy and why these things work and why you're doing certain things. So I think it's more about understanding like what is the intent or what is the goal, what is the function of the why I'm doing this. And I think AI is going to come in and automate a lot of that mundane work. And I'm optimistic in the sense that we as humans will be able to use these AI solutions and these tools that will come to the market for our benefit and not directly to replace us. I think it makes sense that, if I'm working a specific job that I can use this tool to analyze the search results page, right, quicker by using this tool rather than doing it myself. And so with all that, I think to answer your question, we're going to see a lot of niche SaaS tools out there. I also think too that we're going to see AI, we're going to see ChatGPT really continue to grow. The idea of using AI as a tool to create a specific output, I don't think that's going away. I don't think that's going away at all. I use that all the time, even if it's crafting emails, even if it's writing a blog post, even if it's something personal, right? Say I got to send a text message or something. I'll even ask AI or ChatGPT for that because it'll help convey the ideas better and clean it up. To answer your question, I don't know if there's many big players besides ChatGPT or whatever Google's coming out with or Microsoft or whatever, in terms of just an AI bot. But beyond that, I expect to see a lot of small SaaS companies pop up left and right that are really focused on doing one thing really well and saving you as a human way more time. So I think that's where we're going to see a lot of growth.
I can share two examples over here. When you mentioned ChatGPT, there are a lot
Hmm.
of these small apps that are coming for personal use, not for business. Like there's this law ChatGPT here in India. Ask anything, any question to it regarding constitution or regarding any kind of criminal law or civil law. It will give the answer exactly the way you want to. You don't need to find which article addresses the answer to your particular question. And like you
Hmm.
said, a lot of those niche applications will come out for businesses. Like I might not be using chat gpt in the future. I might be using some other specialized tool that is doing some specific exact task, even if it's using the api from openai. So there
Totally.
are chances that I would stop paying OpenAI and start paying to that particular app because that is doing way more specific task for me, and I don't need to give exact prompts to ChatGPT anymore, and all that hassle is gone away. Anyway, it was great session with you, Dex. It was amazing to get in touch once again after such a long time. Is there anything else that you wanted to share right now on this session?
Yeah, thank you first of all, Abby, for your time and doing this and setting this up. It's always great to talk with you and see how far we've progressed over a year, and will be interesting to see a year from now where we reach. But the one thing I really wanted to leave you guys with, I think this is important. You can achieve any dream, any aspiration that you set your mind to. You can totally achieve it. Don't let other people tear your idea down. Don't let other people tell you that you can't do it. If you're serious about it and you're dedicated, you can absolutely achieve the levels of success or whatever you're looking to do. You can do it. Don't let other people talk you out of it.
Thank you for that message. And I'm sure that this thing comes out of your own personal experiences. I recently heard from one of our common friends, Dean, that you moved to Nevada from Midwest. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, I just wanted to, shake things up a little bit, mix it up. I've been living in one place for 30 years of my life. There's more outside of the world. Like I want to start living a little bit more intentionally. I want to start exploring. I want to start traveling because I can do it now. I couldn't do it, with the corporate job. I was just held back by some of that stuff. So now I can go and explore the world and I can go do the things that I want to do that I've always wanted to do, but were held back by the job. So now I can go and do the things that I want to do.
So something like I did, I tried to live in some other place, in some other country to try something new. And that's where I started this career, digital marketing full time. And I believe when you change a place, it changes a lot of other things in our life and it gives us a new path. So I wish you all the best, Dex, for your new things in life. So if people like me want to get in touch with you, where can they find you online? What's the best place for them to reach out to you?
Sure. You can reach out to me on my website. It's Dex is marketing, but it's MKTG as an abbreviation. So Dex is MKTG.com. Or you can find me on all socials with the same handle. It's Dex is MKTG, short for marketing. Always happy to have a conversation if you guys need help with anything. Always happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Great. So I'll also put those links down in the description in case anyone wants to get in touch with you. And thank you so much for giving your valuable time today. I hope that we'll have more podcast sessions with Dex in the future and we'll talk about more niche topics rather than introduction topics. And when we bring in people from different nationalities and different backgrounds, we share their different experiences and definitely we are going to benefit out of those. Thank you so much for watching today's session and we'll see you in the next one.